Live in what? Here we go. All right, we're live. Hello,
Hi.
everyone. Hello, everyone, and
Hello.
thanks for joining us. We're live on Women Who Lift Israel with our special guest, Karen Cronian Hurley. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Sarah. How are you? Hi, everybody. This is my
we're
first live gig, so I'm kind of nervous, I have to say.
we're so honored to have you, Karen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Um,
inviting me. I'm honored to be here.
So, to intro everyone to our group, my name is Sarah, and I'm the founder of Women Who Lift Israel. So, we are a women-only online community whose mission is to empower women through strength training. And we started these live interviews to give all of our women plenty of inspiration, motivation, advice, and tips from professionals and athletes in the field. And we're really, really excited to have this conversation with you, Karen, today and learn from you.
Oh, great. I hope I have something to teach.
Of
So,
course,
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
well, we'll see.
it's so. Just a small summary of like who you are.
Okay.
Actually, I'll let you tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words, but I want to tell the audience that you're a 70-year-old like power lifter, and I've seen you squat like crazy amounts of weights. So like that's how I discovered you from Instagram, and then the second I found your page, I was like, I'm on a mission to have like this woman be interviewed in our community, and it's so cool that you're so responsive and so willing to be here today. And yeah, I'm really grateful for you to be here.
Awesome. Oh, I love it. That's so good.
I just want to say that usually I have a hard time to like come up with the interview questions, but this time like the community had so many questions for you that like it was a
Yeah.
breeze.
Yeah. Oh,
So
good. Great questions, too. Great questions.
we have so much to cover, so let's dig into them, okay?
Okay, so my name is Karen Cronian Hurley. I am married. I live in the United States, in California, my whole life. Well, 18 months in North Carolina, but here I am, mostly a California resident. I have two sons in their late 20s, and two cats and two horses. And
That's so cool.
yeah, I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, and that has been my work all my life. I never want to do anything but work in mental health. And so here where I live in Stanislaus County, I worked in public service at the county mental health agency for my whole career, which was, I don't know, somewhere around 45 years. I'm retired now.
Wow,
I also did
amazing.
private practice as a marriage family therapist. And, I just kind of got about, well, kind of during the pandemic and then the year after, I'm like, I think I'm done. And then I decided it would be okay. My husband is also a marriage family therapist. He still works, but
Wow.
yeah, I know. When you're married to a therapist, you just don't get away with anything. Everything gets talked about. So it's good. Um, it's a sunny day in California. It's kind of cold, but that's good. Let's see. So that's just, I don't know, a little bit about me personally. It's
Awesome. And
yeah,
let's dig into the second question. So, how was
yeah.
younger Karen like? Were you always active, and when did you start powerlifting, and why?
Yeah. Couple of these questions I think are going to kind of mesh together. So I'm going to try to
Yeah,
make string a
for
story
sure.
here that makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
So short answer to the question was younger Karen, very active. I would have to say, yeah, probably not. I
Oh,
am
okay.
not one of those. I mean, I know some amazing women lifters. Most of them are a little younger than me, but they've been athletes their whole lives, right? That would not be me. That would
Hmm.
not be me. I mean, I was an active child just in terms of just playing and, doing, but I never ever participated in organized sports. I just didn't. It wasn't where my interests lay. And so I would have to say that I'm powerlifting now is some kind of hard left at the age of 65, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. I my interest in being healthy, living healthfully has always been there. Usually
Mm-hmm.
that would focus on food and eating and getting some kind of exercise. Normally you would think, that would be cardio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I was born in 1953,
Yeah.
so decades and decades of various things have been trendy. So when women jogging, running for women became sort of trendy and a thing in the 70s, I jogged. When bicycling was a thing, also that for me was in the 70s. I was in my late 20s, beginning of the 30s. I dabbled in that. I tried tennis. I tried, all these different things. But I would have to say, for me in my life, I was kind of a dabbler, just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a sampler. But I never was, like 30 and really hitting it hard anywhere at any time. Jane Fonda workouts, cardio, step class, jazzercise, all these
Sounds like
different
me.
things.
Sounds
Yeah,
like me before I discovered weightlifting. Yeah.
exactly. I always kind of knew I was strong, but it never translated. I do remember a time in my early 40s when I was so kind of disconnected from myself and my body, and my eating was off, and I had gained a lot of weight. And I was in a workshop that they were doing some work on getting in touch with your body. It was the first time that I ever listened in a way that I actually heard my body say, I need more exercise. I want to. I like to. Do you know what I mean? I kind of heard that request, and it
Mm.
resonated in a way that I thought was really kind of didn't unexpected. But
Mhm,
from
mhm.
there, I started, focusing a little more. So I think for me, it started with walking, and then trying to actually lose some weight. I probably weigh 50 pounds less now. Yeah,
Amazing.
about 50 pounds less now than I did then. And then my late 40s, I found horseback riding. So that was the big thing that I finally latched onto. That
Mhm,
was that
mhm.
was like people have done organized sports. I latched onto horseback riding, and I say it that way because, obviously it's physical for the horse, but it's also very physical for the rider. You're not just a passenger; you're getting a workout, and it's legs and core a lot, and then all the various things
Oh,
you
yeah.
do, to take care of the horse and do all the different things. So that's really where I got connected to something that for me had a passion to it. And that called me to be out there and physical. And that was the point at which the bell rang for me on, I need to lose some weight because, when you're riding, I did trail riding. I didn't do any of the other kinds of disciplines. I did trail riding in the hills and in nature. And that was really the call for me on that. And you need to be, when you're out on trail, it's just a practical thing. If you have to get off your horse, you need to be able to get back up from the ground.
Okay. Wow,
And
that's
in
hard
order to do
actually.
that, you have to have a certain level of fitness. You have to have some strength in your core and your legs, and you have to be able to throw your leg over and pull yourself up, or you know what I mean? So it
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
kind of germinated right there. And so, I did the trail riding, and I had one or two horses for about 18 years. Another thing happened about 10 years later in my early 50s, and this is where it gets into some of the other questions that have been posed. Um, in my early 50s, that would be like 2003. I guess I turned 50 in 2003. And I had that meeting with my doctor when he looks at your lab work and he says,
Mhm.
these labs are looking a little sketch.
Mm.
You're approaching insulin resistant
Oh.
state. And so again, a bell rang over my head or in my head, I don't know. And I had to evaluate that. He said, you're going to end up on medication. We're going to need to do that if this trend continues. And I'm like, no, that's so not happening. I
Go
said,
you.
I diet and exercise,
Mhm.
I can turn this around. And so I began to get serious about losing weight. I began to get serious about training and exercise. So I went to a large diet organization, which I won't name, But anybody can find them anywhere practically. and I and I started losing weight, and then you get to a point where you can only do so much by adjusting how
Right.
you eat, and you have to get more physical. So between the horse activity and eating differently, I had got to a point, and then I needed to get a little further. So I walked myself into a gym. Well, it actually started before that. I wanted to get a treadmill, but and why I'm telling you the story is because I know people want to understand how you start if you haven't, or if you want to start and you haven't
Right.
started. So I wanted to be more physical, but I didn't just want to throw money at it like people do. You go and you buy a bunch of stuff, and then like you buy a treadmill and it becomes a clothes hanger. It
Right.
happens,
Yeah.
right? So I kind of made a bargain with myself. And I said, if you walk X number of times a week and that gets to be consistent, then we'll buy a treadmill. So then I
Mm.
did that. And I had little kids at the time, so I was home a lot. And so that led to getting the treadmill, exercising on the treadmill. That led to now I'm going to join a gym, because I sure didn't want to join a gym and not just pay dues and do it.
Right.
So I walked in there and I was so embarrassed and I was so vulnerable. I mean, I was just wide open and in tears. And I just said to them, I need somebody to teach me how to work out. And that was the moment that strength training became a thing for me
Wow.
in my early 50s. So I'd say it's like 52.
Amazing.
And that led to from 52 to 65. What is that, like 15 years? Yeah.
Hmm.
About almost 15 years. I strength trained and I resistance trained in a big commercial gym with a couple different trainers, one for most of the time. And lucky me, because you don't always find a really great trainer in a big
Right.
commercial gym, and I did. And she taught me so much, just technically, how to use machines, how to use hand weights, how to use body weight, how to work out. By the time I was I don't know, a few years into it, I could walk into any gym anywhere and craft a workout for myself. And
With
I did.
confidence.
Yeah,
Mm.
with confidence and, kind of get
Amazing.
it done. Yeah. So it takes time. That's a message through this. It takes time. It's a process.
Hmm.
One
Hmm.
thing, you use whatever metaphor you like. There's a links in the chain, the dominoes fall a certain way, whatever works for you, string of pearls, I don't know, whatever works for people. But, one thing leads to the next thing. And so when this particular trainer that I worked with for all these years decided had finished her education, off she went to work in public health as an
Hmm.
epidemiologist. And then there I am. What am I going
Oh.
to do now? So I was kind of trying to do it on my own, a little bit
Hmm. Hmm.
unchallenged by it, kind of bored. Went to a gym that I had no clue whatsoever that it was a powerlifting gym. Not a
Oh,
clue. Did not know
wow.
it. I didn't even know what that was. And I'm 65 years old.
Wow.
Never heard of it. Didn't know what it was. Went with my friend, trained with her and her trainer. We didn't do powerlifting, but we did a lot of the things that powerlifters and CrossFitters do, like sled drag and ball slams. And we actually did the belt squat machine thing. And oh, it was just super fun and challenging and hard. And it was hot and gritty. And I was like, this is great. This is a great challenge. I need to find a place like this where I live, because she lives somewhere else. So I came home and I started looking. There must be a gym like that here somewhere. So I started looking, and lo and behold, there's one like 2 miles from my house. Didn't even know.
Awesome.
So I walk
Amazing.
in there and I'm like, what do you guys do here? I'm kind of
Mhm.
interested. They said, well, this is what powerlifting is: squat, bench, deadlift, da da da. And it's clanging and banging and it's concrete floors and the smell of the mats and the whole thing. They said, we have, lucky me again, important little things happen that were just random and lucky. They said, we have a introduction to powerlifting class 3 days a week if you want to do it.
So
I'm like,
cool.
okay, I could do that. So I just threw down and started going. And, a lot too far into it, I kind of asked myself the question, what if I kept doing this for a year? I wonder what my body would be like, because by then, at the age of 65, way back at my 50s, I knew I had gotten the memo about sarcopenia, muscle loss. I knew
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that, and I knew that was real. And I knew that that only goes one way. The more you age, for women for sure, and men, you lose muscle. And if you don't do anything to preserve it, you lose it at a certain rate, which is escapes me right now the percent, but it's
yeah.
a little bit alarming. Um, so I knew if I didn't do something to preserve it, that I would be losing it and getting weaker and weaker. So that was not going to be okay with me at all, for the horses, for my family, for my kids, for my life. Um, you know, so I posed the question to myself, what if I did this for a year? I wonder if I would build more muscle. So I just committed to it and I just did it, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And when you walked into that powerlifting gym, were you already a little bit like stronger? Like what did they
Oh,
think about your abilities, or is this something that you built like over time
it's both. I
with
think
okay.
that over the time of working with Teresa, my trainer at the commercial gym, I came to one of the things she really did for me, besides teach me how to work out and how to work out well, is she really showed me, she really introduced me to my strength.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
she challenged me in a way that had me cursing her many times, as one does, curse their trainer at times, It was like, "Ugh, this is too hard." And she's like, "You can do it."
That is
Um,
so amazing.
yeah, so she really introduced me to my strength, and I will forever be grateful to her for that. And so I knew that I was strong. I didn't have any idea I was as strong as it turns out that I am. So I think that what was said, I think people were interested, probably impressed, and certainly commenting that I was a strong person. I was strong.
Awesome.
I was easily, by 10, 20, 30, 40 years in some cases, the oldest person in that gym,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like an awakening. I don't know. It was like, how am I just now learning about this? You know,
Amazing.
and what if I had, then what if I had the what if, question? What if I had been doing this all along? What would I be lifting now? Um,
Yeah.
I
If
mean, it's kind of a,
powerlifting was in the Olympics, you were probably be an Olympian.
my bench might be stronger than it is, that's for sure. But, there's no point, it's a kind of a waste of imagination to go down the what if only
No, but
thing.
I think like your story is actually super cool because it can give motivation to women that like are too scared to try at um like a later age. So a lot of
Oh, yeah.
even if the women my age are like, oh, I'm 40, like I'm 45, like why should I start now, like I'm too old, and I'm like, you're not too old.
No, no,
This is like the time to
no.
start, exactly like what you're
Yeah.
saying, to help with the sarcopenia and to be
And
healthy
osteopenia too.
as you age. Yeah.
Yeah, bone loss and muscle loss is real.
Yeah, so actually this goes into like our second question maybe.
Mhm.
So what are the our third question. What are the physical and mental benefits you see for being a strong woman, like strong at 70? Like how has it impacted your life?
Well, I can do more.
Yeah.
I feel better. I mean, I know people kind of look at me like, what are you talking about? I had, before I started powerlifting and really kind of got into it a ways, it took a little bit to get into it because I started in July. I did my first competition the following May, and that was 2018 I
Wow.
started. I did my first competition in May of 2019, which I think is like 10 months. So, and I did 3 competitions that first year. So it took a while for me to get there, but I eventually began to understand that I had less aches and pains. And then my coach explained to me, which I still have the same coach today that I met that day, that first day at that
Amazing.
gym. Yeah. And it's a good partnership. He's taught me a lot. And so he had me understand, and through my reading, that when you're powerlifting, like for instance with deadlift, you're using every muscle in your body. It takes your whole body to deadlift that bar with any amount of weight on it. And so as you're doing that, you're strengthening your muscles, your tendons, your joints, your central nervous system. I mean, everything is called upon to work in a way that you wouldn't be working it in a resting state or doing some other kinds of activities. So you do that over time consistently, and then
Mhm.
it becomes there's a for me there's a vitality that has come with it, and a resiliency. So I don't have low back pain in the morning when I wake up. I don't have, I mean, I'm not saying I don't get sore. I do. But
Yeah,
all the various aches and pains. I mean, I had a real thing going on with my hip and some bursitis before. And I know people don't believe me necessarily when I say it. It sounds a little bit, you know,
magic.
yeah, magical, but that hip pain has 99% disappeared. Every now and then on a
So
really
cool.
cold day, it'll act up a little bit, but it has really kind of all those things cleared up. So I
I believe
say,
you.
yeah, I have a lot of stamina. I have, I get so much out of a day, and I get tired, but I kind of feel like, what am I waiting for? Why don't I use it? Why don't I use it up now? You know,
Mhm.
what am I saving? I don't need to save myself. I've got to, I need to train. I need to go take care of my horses. I need to do all the other things that people do around, living and having a life. So I don't know.
I
Just,
agree. Like weightlifting makes everything like easier, like physically.
hmm
I can compare myself, like my two pregnancies between my first son, like now he's 9 years old, and my baby now, which is 4 months old. Like
hmm
this pregnancy was so much easier than the first one, and I was like almost
yeah,
10 years younger the first one, but the
yeah,
weightlifting completely like
yeah,
helped me. And
yeah.
I also had two C-sections, and the recovery from the second one was so
Uh,
much easier. I had all these like other muscles that were helping me mobile, be
yeah,
mobile. I didn't have to like rely on my core, so to pull myself up from the bed, like I could use my hands or legs,
yeah,
and so forth. So even like at the hospital, the nurses were in shock, like how fast I was getting up after a C-section. And I'm sure it's because of like weightlifting and my
hmm
muscles that were
yeah.
helping me.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
real and it's awesome. And it's sometimes people kind of don't believe it in a way. I mean, they and it's not easy either, by the way. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Yeah.
It is kind of hard. And it does take a certain sort of mindset of determination and a sort of a never give up, don't quit, stick it through the hard stuff to get to the good stuff. It does take a little bit of that. I mean, short word for it, or I call it, is you got to have a little grit to do it.
Mhm.
You know?
But
Yeah,
also it gets addictive. So I feel like
I agree.
it gets easier. The grit
Oh,
becomes
endorphins,
easier.
cheapest drug in
Yeah,
the world.
exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
endorphins are real. Yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, that's a really good
Amazing.
point. Yeah.
And how does your nutrition look like these days? Is it focused? What are your nutrition goals? Is it focused on powerlifting
Oh yeah.
or yeah?
Well, that was the
Okay.
other lesson. Okay, so I would always have my life had been around sort of what do you call it? Mm, deprivation eating. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
trying to be skinny, basically. And there's
yeah.
all the stuff that comes with that. And so my eating was undisciplined, except when it was overly disciplined and cycling through
Right.
that round and around. Most women, a
We
lot of
know that.
men are very familiar with that
Very familiar.
that territory. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've learned early on, early days in lifting, was that if you are going to lift heavy, you must eat. Because
Mm,
if you do not eat, you will not lift. And once
Mm.
those two things were connected for me, then my relationship with food and eating began to evolve.
So
Because,
beautiful.
yeah, food is fuel. Food isn't
Mm.
anything else, moral, ethical, legal, wrong, good, bad, whatever, nothing. You have to eat, and you need to eat a certain way to support your lifting. So now, I never thought I would. I never wanted to. I said, I'll never learn that. Never say never, because I count macros now.
Mm.
And, I need to pay attention and make sure that I've eaten what I need so that when I go to lift, I have the strength, and that includes carbs and proteins. And then after, I need to fuel those muscles, because why would you work them if you weren't going to feed them after and help them grow? So again, with the carbs and the proteins. And, fats are important too, but not around your training time. So I've learned so much. And that being said, I am not perfect, and I do still lapse into, mm, I don't know, I guess the generous word for it would be some undisciplined eating.
Mm.
Like I just would
You're
tend
only
not.
human. Yeah, of course.
Right, right. Yeah. I just realized I work with Kristen Lander and Fiercely Fueled Nutrition, and she just posted a thing on Instagram, and there's all this food on her plate. And she's like, I eat this 3 times a day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not eating enough food. So I kind of tend that way, but it has changed a lot.
So carbs are
Yeah.
not the enemy, right?
Oh no, carbs are not bad. Carbs are not the enemy. No, no. Mm-mm.
Do you actively encourage other women your age to start powerlifting?
I
And what
do.
types of responses do you usually get, like when you try to convince them?
Well, I do encourage. I am, hashtag women supporting women. I think it's great. I can preach on it anytime anybody will listen. And I do.
Mm.
The women around me in my age cohort, friends I've had for years, some family members that are in my age cohort, a little bit older and a little bit younger, I have shared my message, and they can see, look at me and see. And to a person, no one has joined me in powerlifting.
Mm.
Um, your my answer to your question, what do people say? I think most often what people say is some version of, "Oh, I can't do that. I have a bad shoulder. Oh, I
A
can't do that. I
back,
have a
my
bad
back.
back. Yeah. Oh, I can't do that. I have bad knees." And so, human beings are very much subject to this kind of all or nothing thinking.
Mm.
So if so, I think where the logic chain goes for folks is I have a bad whatever, therefore I cannot do any of that.
Mm.
When the reality is there's a lot of things that you could do, but maybe some things you couldn't, or maybe some things you could work up to. But you know
Mhm.
what, Sarah, I don't try to convince anybody of anything. I really don't. I am too old for that. I have spent too many years, you know, and I really understand that all you can do is share
Mm.
your story, and that is where people will take inspiration.
Teach by
I
example.
Sure, and then just kind of do your thing. I'm knocked out by the fact that you found me and you're interested. I'm utterly knocked out by the fact that there's others that have. I've done one other podcast I did on Fiercely Fueled, and I did a interview with Chandler Mars and Larnie Mulvery on Old Ladies Lift. And it knocks me out that anybody's interested. um, Everybody who is interested in it is within the powerlifting community primarily, and that's not
Mm.
everybody in that community, but women are, because they're looking for the answer to, can I do that, or I can do that. Yeah, I
Mm.
think I can do, or something like that. Outside of the powerlifting community in the big wide world, nobody's interested.
Mm.
Even my closest friends and family members that,
That's
I've
so
gotten to the
sad
yeah, I
because
mean,
it could be it could be
yeah,
saving their lives, like making their lives way better. I think I'm trying to
yeah,
convince my mom to start
yeah.
weightlifting, and it's so hard.
Well, I'll tell you, I have two goals in this thing. One, obviously, was the thing we've been talking about, which is my own well-being and my own strength and my own ability to age well. I can
Hmm.
plainly see that my own mother is 92, and I can plainly see that if you do not have sufficient muscle and strength
Yeah,
around your joints, that you don't do as well. There are
yeah,
lots of examples of people that have balance issues in both genders, balance
yeah.
issues, falling, this kind of thing. A lot of this can be um, prevented.
Prevented. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my one goal, and that's my
Mhm.
personal goal. The first time I ever did a meet, a man came up to me and he said, "You are such an inspiration. My wife came here with me today, and seeing you do this, she thinks maybe she could do it too.
Oh,
Thank
that
you."
is so amazing.
And right there, the hook was set in my lip, where I thought, okay, because I'm kind of a generation where, or of a mindset where you want to contribute to the world, contribute to others,
Of
set an
course.
example, as you have said, set an example of something that's possible. And boy, that really hooked me. So I'm knocked out, thrilled, and humbled by the fact that people asked me to talk about my story.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I have a question from Hannah. She said, make sure to ask this question.
Oh,
So we're always interested in how older women train differently as they
mm.
get older to prevent injury. At 46, I'm sure I shouldn't be training the same as someone who is 25. So I wonder how that changes from decade to decade. I don't.
Well, Hannah, here's what I would say about that. As you have heard, I started powerlifting at 65.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to make an adjustment from my 20s to my 30s to my 40s. I What I do at my age is I have understood, and uh, I do my training in a way that fits me. So sometimes that I will try. I have always with every trainer, if they tell me this is what I want you to do, I never say no. I will do it.
Mhm,
I will try it, and then we will adjust or adapt it if it needs to be adapted. Right.
mhm,
Um, there are there are things that I don't do or can't do. Certain things like certain amounts of flexibility that I don't have in like my hips or different things. But for every exercise, there's always an adaptation to it that you can do it.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
so I think having a good trainer, I think the most important thing for a person is to understand that you're only going to be able to do what you can do at where you are. Comparison of a 46-year-old or a 65-year-old or a 70-year-old to a 25 or a 30-year-old is folly. I
mm,
mean, that comparison is the thief of joy in what you're doing,
mm, mm.
right?
You
It,
have
it
to compare
just,
yourself to like yourself the first day,
yeah,
like every day
sure,
to yourself. Yeah.
sure. I mean,
Mm,
sure. Even
mm,
somebody who's my age has a different story and a different history and a different,
mm, mm,
it's not even there a fair comparison. There's a woman
mm,
in California, Linda Franklin. She's amazing. She's close to my age in the same competition. She's in the 60 to 65 to 69 group. And she's been an athlete her whole life. I wish I was as strong as her. you
right.
know, there's another one in Ohio, and she's my age exactly, maybe a year older, and she is stronger than me. I mean, I don't know her history, but you know what I mean? It's like the comparison straight across age by age over the decades. I don't know.
So
I
there
don't know.
isn't something, for example, like a doctor or something told you basically because you're this age, you should not do this. It's just, yeah, it's
No.
just you. Yeah, you just like any person at any age, you build your strength with time and perseverance and work.
Yeah. I'm lucky. My doctor, my primary care doctor, is very proud of me. He encourages me. He supports me. He sees nothing wrong with what I'm doing.
Awesome.
Um, the feedback that I've gotten that I shouldn't is from my mother, who's concerned about me hurting myself.
You're back. You're back.
She's like, she's when I show her my video, she's like,
Don't worry, it's
you
like
know,
my mom when I had
yeah,
her like during pregnancy, like she almost had a heart attack.
exactly. That's mom stuff. I have some friends that are like, "Oh, are you going to hurt yourself?" I'm like, "No, I'm not." And the reason I'm not is because I'm super careful. I'm incredibly injury averse,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So I don't take those chances. So
Mm,
partly in answer to Hannah's question, which is, if you think it's going to hurt you or you're going to get
mm,
hurt from it, don't do it. Just
mm,
do it different or do it slower or do less of it.
mm,
It's a personal decision, and you have to
mm.
pay attention to your own internal, you know, mm, sound voices. You have to listen to that inner voice that
That's
says,
really good
"This is not
advice.
for me." Yeah, there's just nobody out there who can say that for you. Your coach can prescribe for you what you're going to do that day, but that day I might go out. I have this, oh my goodness, big long list of things to do. But if I go out that day and I'm like, man, I got no juice, then if I can't reach him, he lives here, but he's not always available. If I can't reach him, I'll look at that list and I'll say, I'm going to strike this. I'm not going to do
Mm,
this, and then I'll just explain it later, because I'm the one who gets to decide ultimately. And if I have a 230-pound lift, which for me I think is 90 or 92% of my max, if I have that lift and I'm supposed to do it twice or three times, and I've only got one or two, that's what I'm doing, because
mm.
I'm not going to get hurt. I'm
So
not
good
gonna.
advice.
Yeah,
I needed that
yeah,
advice a few weeks ago when I was
yeah.
like, my little voice was saying, "Do not do this deadlift." I don't know how I got
Right.
injured from not listening to my own little voice. So
Right,
yeah.
right. And it happens that fast, right? That fast. And yeah, that little voice is there for a reason. It
Mhm,
is. It
mhm,
is. And then the thing, I don't know about you, but the thing that I hear in my head that challenges that little voice is, "Oh, you're just not trying hard enough. Oh, you're just a
mm,
quitter. Oh, you can do this." You know what I mean? That little voice is there too. It's like a little angel, little devil thing. But the one I strive to listen to is the one that has my best interest at heart.
mm.
Because, most of us that do this, we don't have a strong voice that is, uh, lazy is not a good word for it, but that kind of gets the point across. Like if
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
lazy,
totally.
we wouldn't be out there anyway.
So I'm not sure like the next question is relevant for you, but
Yeah.
you let me know. Did going through menopause affect your
Mm.
lifting at all? Any advice for those of us that will be going through it soon?
Well, good luck with that. I think I went through menopause between 40 and 50. So by the time I got
Mm,
to 50, I was pretty well done.
right. Okay.
So I would say directly no.
Mm-hmm.
Hormones still fluctuate. I still have, like everybody does. It affects my hormones or affect my sleep, this kind of thing. I can tell you that there's probably two groups on Facebook, probably more, but there's Girls Gone Strong and
Mm-hmm.
Women Who Powerlift.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those, Women Who Powerlift is a women-only group, and it's well managed, and it's a safe place. There's a lot of women in there that have this conversation and have this topic.
Awesome.
So seeking support, that might be a group to join. And there would be women who are actually going through it that would have something to say about that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with the prejudice and ignorance of professionals who warn against lifting heavy at your age? In our in our environment, there are a lot of like cultural messages that say it's better for
Mm,
women to just walk and not make much effort. How do you deal with that? It's I don't know if it's the same around you in like
mm,
America, but in Israel, this message is very, very loud. Like you should be like walking or you know like it's very like new here for women to start lifting, so we get these
mhm.
cultural messages a lot.
It's probably a little bit different than what you're experiencing because
Mm-hmm.
it's so new there. I
Mm-hmm.
think that, let's see, how do I want to say this? There is a, so everywhere, at least let's not, because let's just speak. I need to reel it in a little bit. Um, so I live, as I'm sure you do, in this sort of little container of
Mm-hmm.
assumptions about what women should do. And we're
Mm-hmm.
all,
Mm-hmm.
most of us are trying to become more aware and question those assumptions and question those biases, and all that sort of thing goes on. But the fact is that there's a lot of sort of assumptions around what women should do, what older women should be doing, this kind of thing. So anytime you're doing something that's outside of that in a big social
Mm-hmm.
expectation kind of way, you're going to bump up against that. And some people are going to not like that for all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
reasons that are their reasons, but they're not going to like that. If nothing else, you're just, you're coloring outside the lines. And some people think you shouldn't do that. And
Mm-hmm.
that is true here as well. Um,
Interesting.
and,
I like how you worded it.
you know, um, I have not had a medical professional tell me I should not, or anyone like that. I have had more than a few people on Instagram, when things get
Mm.
posted, say that I'm going to ruin my joints, I'm going to do all these things. And I don't know if they're professionals or not, but you know,
Yeah.
that's not of any consequence. Um, here's the last thing on that. In my own head, this context that we're in, it's very ingrained in my own head. So every now and then I bump up against the thought, or the limiting thought that, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe I look
Mm.
fool, maybe I look foolish doing it
Mm.
because I'm an older female. Do you know what I mean? That's the harder part, is these assumptions and these beliefs and these things that bubble up in my own head that I knew were that some of them I knew they were there and some of them I didn't know they were there. But when they come up, I think, oh, for heaven's sakes, that
Are you there? Why are you
why why are you
there?
coming to me now? So I
Let
have
me
this.
tell you, you look super cool. Like that thought can go away.
Well, that's the counter. I mean, you have to kind of go to that other place and say, "No, I have a right to do this. This
Yeah.
is okay. This is right for me." It might be, the commonality between me now and me when I was younger, like a teenager and a young adult, was I don't color within the lines. I mean, you know what I mean? I want to be out of the ordinary. I mean, I am a
Mhm.
child of the women's movement in the States, and so I'm going to be sort of loud and proud, and be a
Yeah.
be a woman who stands out. I want to make
Yeah.
history, and women who make history are not often well behaved. So great, let's do that.
I think in Israel, like culturally, it's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
harder, maybe because we have more like religious groups, maybe
Mm-hmm.
than a lot of the women that I speak to. They tell me things like it's not like feminine to like lift weights, or it's not like something a woman should do. I don't know how to answer that. It's like why
Yeah,
is it not women need to be strong? Like you need to be strong to like lift like three kids and like the supermarket bags and the
yeah.
stroller and so forth. So and also as I don't know if you know, but here um women that are religious need to dress very modestly, and it was
Hmm.
a problem for them to wear like a singlet in front of like male judges. So
Hmm.
our community actually created the first ever like woman only powerlifting competition last year, which it
Nice.
was a woman only forum, and we had religious athletes that competed for the first time in
I
their
love it.
lives, which is like super cool. And one of the athletes was discovered at this competition, Michal Olinsky. She broke the Israeli record for the deadlift. Like,
Hey,
how cool is that?
that's
So
awesome. That's awesome.
we're here
Yeah.
to like really give more opportunities to women, and like, break like these thoughts that you're talking about. Like, we
Hmm.
can and we should, and why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
So, about 50% of our community members identify themselves as new to all forms of strength training. So, they
Mm.
are nervous to start, especially like the older they get.
Mm.
Kind of like the thing that you were describing, like you first like went into your gym and you're
Hmm.
nervous and so forth. So, what advice do you have for them?
Oh, that's easy. Start wherever you can. Like
Just start.
just start. Yeah. People often ask, what's the best exercise to do? And the answer is the one that you'll do, the one that you can
Mm,
do, and the one
yeah,
that
or
you will do. That's the
the
best
one
one to
you
start
love
with.
also. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Start there and listen. And again, listen to that inner voice. It's like start there, listening to the inner voice. Then what's next? What is the next thing that shows up that you might want
Mhm.
to do? So maybe people start with walking, or maybe they start with hand weights, like just,
Yeah.
I don't know, curls or hammer curls, or something easy, or air squats is a great place to start. I mean, air squats are great because here's the thing about it. You don't want to end up being older, not having enough strength to stand up off the toilet. I'm just going to
Right.
say,
Oh, that's so smart.
this is the future.
Yeah.
It's functional fitness, okay? And air
Yeah.
squats, even if, I my own mother, I said, look, here's the thing. If you can't go outside and walk, you can stand with a chair in front of you, or stand at your breakfast bar with hold yourself so you don't fall, and march in place. It counts the same. Marching in
Mm,
place is the same as walking, okay? It's a start. Do what you can, do it on a regular basis, and build from that. Everybody starts at a different place. And for heaven's sakes, don't
amazing.
compare yourself. Oh, I should be doing more. Therefore, this isn't good enough. Therefore, why bother? No.
Right. And
Yeah.
also find someone to like teach you how to use
Hmm.
these weights, because it can be overwhelming to like just step into a gym and like not know what to do. Like,
Hmm.
I I think it's important to get guidance in the beginning
I
at
do.
least, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is the second thing, is if you can find a good trainer or someone who has some knowledge that they can teach you how to get
Mm.
started. That's super helpful. There's
Right.
that little accountability piece, even a buddy, right?
Right. Yeah. And don't be like afraid to change trainers if like you don't have a good vibe, because
Right.
yeah.
Right, right. Absolutely. Don't be afraid. If there's anything sketchy about the person, they're having you do things you don't want to do, they're acting creepy toward you, they're putting you down,
Hmm.
they don't appreciate what you can do, they don't give you feedback on your progress, any of these kinds of things. There's too many people out there that want to help, that are good. So yeah,
Hmm.
don't
I really
don't
like what you said about your trainer. She like made you realize you were strong, and
She
she
did.
like believed in you, and
She did.
that's so important. That what makes you excel, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So I would like to give you the opportunity to address our community from your heart. This is your space to just add anything that you want that I might have missed. So any words of wisdom or inspiration for us, go for it.
Mm.
Mhm.
So it's probably a string of things that I think are really important. I think it's important to bring a beginner's mind to this. And by that, I mean, it's okay not to know how to do whatever it is, whether it's just starting out or
Mhm.
whether it's, you know, increasing the weight on the bar. It's really uh, okay and even good to just kind of have a beginner's mindset about it. If you shouldn't already know how or know whether or know if, it's okay to be uncertain. I have been vulnerable and scared and uncertain and not knowing and in tears, and I have found that I can do just about anything in all of those
Mm.
conditions, so it's okay to cry, it's okay to be frustrated, and go ahead and do the thing. The second thing I think is really important is having a future that calls you forth to, another way to say it is a goal.
Mm.
For me, the way I language it is that the future that I'm creating with all this that I'm doing is a future in which I'm older, hopefully 90 plus, and I'm as able-bodied as I need to be to live comfortably. There's not a lot of science that you can lengthen your life, but there's a lot that says that you can increase your quality of life for as long as you
Right.
live, right? So having that future like out there calling me forth eliminates me waking up in the morning in the question, am I going to work out today?
Mm.
It's already
Mm.
been decided. And
Mm.
that is sometimes so critical because, you get tired or you get busy or you get stressed and you think, or you just get confused because of any one of those things. You think, am I gonna? Well, no, you're gonna. It's already been decided. So within yourself, it's already been decided. I'm gonna do this because I'm creating this future. So that future
That's
calls you
so.
forth. And I think that's really important. And within that future, that big future that's calling you forth, that you may or may not get to. I mean, hell, I don't know. I might get hit by a truck tomorrow. Oh, anything can
God
happen.
forbid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God forbid. Um, but that future is what I'm living into. There's other aspects of it, but this is the one that we're talking about now.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
And then
Yeah.
within that, you
Mm.
have goals, right? You have goals. You do a certain lift a certain day, you do a certain workout, you compete and set records, there's all these little goals along the way, and those are the reinforcement and the fun and the joy of the right now that leads you down the path toward that future. To me, that's the way to set up a something that you care about and you love and you want to sustain it. That's really the that's the goal right there.
That's
I,
amazing. It can help me with my nutrition right now, even
yeah,
not
it
just
can.
to.
You can
Yeah.
you can apply it to anything, of course, of course. And then the last thing is, people in general should just be good human beings.
Mm.
Kindness costs nothing
Mhm.
to be kind and to be generous with your knowledge, and a generous, kind of heart and generous of spirit is you can never go wrong with that.
Love that.
Yeah.
So it's the end of our interview. It went back by so fast. It was so interesting, and I learned
Did
so
we get
much.
it done? Did we get what
Yeah.
did we cover it all? I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
we I'm also impressed.
Yeah.
Um, I might actually add one question that I took
Yeah.
out, if that's okay.
I'm going to add one
If
little data point too when you finish your question, because I wanted
okay,
to share something with folks.
so if Hat, one of our competitor powerlifting competitors. She asked if you had to change any of your accessory work because as you age, basically.
Yeah, I didn't because I started
No.
old. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Nothing that your trainers have changed for you or
Little changes, but I started at 65, so we already
yeah.
started with you're 65. So I'm
Okay,
gonna
got it.
right. I'm gonna prescribe the same things for you. I'm gonna write same things in your training plan, and then we'll see how it goes, and then we make adjustments. And then of
Mhm.
course, based on how you're lifting, your trainer, if you have somebody writing a plan for you, it's going to write accessories that strengthen weaknesses that you have. So it's all pretty much the same. And yeah, it's probably different than somebody who's 20, 30, or 40, but I didn't live that, so
Right.
hard to comment.
Okay.
I wanted to share these numbers with people because I know that sometimes women think, oh, I'm not strong enough yet. I shouldn't compete. And I wanted everybody to know that when I first started my very first meet, I was 10 months in, I was very new, that my opening squat that day, so your openers, they need to be something that you can do in your sleep, right? Like
Mhm, mhm.
reliably, because you don't want to bomb out, you can do it. My opening squat that day was 143 pounds. I think that's 64, 65 kilos. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
It was really low. That's like my baby warm ups now, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like one of my first warm ups. But that's where I started. And my opening bench that day was 44.9 kilos, 99 pounds. And my opening deadlift was 100 kilos, 220 and a half pounds. Right now, my meet PR and my personal best on deadlift is 358.3.
Wow. Which is how
So
much in kilos? Like, how do we translate that?
I do have that because I knew you were going to ask, and I'm a dumb American that doesn't know kilos. 358.3 is 162 and a half kilos.
Wow. Wow, that's
My
impressive.
my best PR on squat is 115 kilos,
Wow.
253 point. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's more than that. It's 258 actually. So that's a little more. And
Wow.
my best meat bench
Bench.
is 60 kilos, 132.3. But I
Wow.
do have a gym PR of a little more, but you know.
I'm so impressed.
So
So
point here being,
you're very close to our national record for the deadlift. Actually, our highest deadlift in the open category is 175 kilos, which it's a
okay,
few kilos difference from
nice,
yours.
nice.
You should
Uh,
come compete here and win all the
yeah,
medals.
that'd be fun. So, but my point in sharing this is everybody starts somewhere and it's somewhere different, and it doesn't matter where you start.
Amazing.
And
So
then
inspiring.
you go wherever you go. And the hardest compassion to have is compassion for ourselves.
Hmm.
And we have to be ruthless in that because there's so much working against it. So have compassion and have fun.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karen. I've
Thank
had
you.
such a pleasure discussing with you. Can you, before we end this interview, can you tell our
Oh,
followers how we can follow you, how we can get in
the
touch with
best
you?
place, sure, sure. The best place to see lifting stuff, and that is on Instagram, and it's at above average master, or my
Hmm.
name, of course. That's the best place to find me. I'm on Facebook too. I'm in your group now, and I'm on
Yeah.
Facebook, but there's not that much lifting stuff on my general
Hmm.
Facebook page.
Hmm. Hmm.
But women, old ladies lift, and Women Who Lift of Israel, that would be my two places where lifting conversations would go on. And I am happy to interact with folks and discuss things. I'm not an expert on anything other than I don't even know if I'm an expert on
Powerlifting.
myself. Yeah, no, not even. No. I speak for no one but myself. And some
So
days I
no,
don't.
we can we ask you some marriage therapy questions? Just kidding. Don't worry. I'm sure we'd have a lot of those.
You can ask whatever you like. Whether or not I'll answer will be another story.
Just kidding.
Yeah, funny.
Thank you so much, Karen. It was a
Thank you.
really big
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.